Welcome back to Change the World, and we're here with episode number 5 of Tuesday Night Dynamite. Tonight will mark the in-ring debut on Tuesday Night Dynamite of Chris Jericho, so let's get straight into the show. The show begins with Excalibur noting Don Callis' absence as he will be interviewing Chris Jericho ahead of his in-ring debut later tonight. As we head over to the interview, Don Callis is seen in the tour bus of Chris Jericho, saying he's been given exclusive access to Jericho before his match with Joey Ryan tonight. This plays on the friendship in real life between the two. Chris Jericho is characteristically aloof, even with his friend Don Callis, and talks about Joey Ryan putting him down and saying that since Don is in the business, he knows what everybody in the business thinks of Joey Ryan. Chris Jericho says that Joey Ryan is a joke and a disgrace to the business and doesn't belong in All Elite Wrestling. He says that tonight he's going to make his Tuesday Night Dynamite debut and he's going to make sure that it's the last time we see the Elite's court jester in AEW. Playing on Chris Jericho's overness and entertainment skills, we're opening up with a hot angle and we're just laying the foundation for what tonight's main event is all about. We then do get our recap of last week's show, which shows the 15-minute time limit draw between Madison Eagles and Mizuki, followed by the Lucha Bros advancement to the Final Four of the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament. The Elite's issues also continued last week, with Cody crossing a line when defending MJF. He slapped Marty Scurll after Hangman had defeated the youngster. Having jumped to the aid of his protege, Cody realised that in the heat of the moment, he'd overstepped the mark. The first match of the evening sees Madison Eagles defeat Santana Garrett in 12:23 with a Hellbound. The premise of this match is that after the time limit draw last week, Madison Eagles and Mizuki will both be in action tonight. If they win their match, they'll be put in the Women's World Championship match at Full House. It could be a singles match or it could be a triple threat, but we confirm through this match that Madison Eagles will face Britt Baker at Full House. After the match, she stands tall in the ring. Following a discussion of Madison Eagles' victory on commentary, Britt Baker is interviewed at the top of the ramp. Alex Myers asks her what she thinks of the number one contendership match last week, with Britt explaining that she feels that tonight's match has proved that Madison Eagles deserves a shot at Full House. Mizuki will also be in action tonight against Tessa Blanchard, and if she wins, Britt Baker is more than ready to defend her title in a three-way match at Full House. Once again, Britt Baker not doing too well, but we have continued the storyline, but lost heat with it unfortunately. We move on then to the first of 4 pre-recorded sit-down interviews. Each of the 4 teams in the AEW Tag Team Tournament will speak tonight, and they'll be given free rein to talk about their matches next week. The Young Bucks will face SCU, and they put over their opponents while saying that they're determined to prove themselves as the best tag team in the world. When asked about the issues within the Elite, they decide to focus instead on the other teams in the tournament, putting over both the Best Friends and the Lucha Bros as 2 excellent tag teams. We then go into the second match of the night, a women's tag team match. Heidi Katrina and Sadie Gibbs defeating Erica Reed and Kylie Ray in 7 minutes 4 seconds. Heidi defeating Kylie Ray with a spear. Heidi Katrina carrying the match in terms of in-ring performance, so that's another string to her bow of what has been an impressive start to her AEW career. Throughout the match, Erica and Kylie are clearly the more cohesive unit, but Heidi Katrina and Sadie Gibbs' individual abilities wins out the day. After the match, they stand tall. It's clear that while they're not necessarily on the same page, they have proved a good team due to their individual merits. We then get the second sit-down interview with the Best Friends, who are given free rein again to put over their personalities ahead of their match with the Lucha Bros next week. It's a fairly light-hearted interview throughout until the pair get serious towards the end. They put over how much winning those titles would mean to them and how it would vindicate their journey together as a team. We then get the third match of the night, Hangman Page vs Pac. They faced each other twice before, each winning one of the 2 matches. This was the decider, the rubber match, and Pac comes out victorious with a shooting star leg drop, prefer it to be the Black Arrow, in 14 minutes 13. After the match, Pac stands tall, having beaten another member of the Elite. The commentators put over his mission to take out every single member of the Elite on his way to the AEW Men's World Championship. The commentators put over his rivalry with Hangman Page, which goes back to the very first AEW press conference back in January. At this point, the music of Kenny Omega hits. The AEW Men's World Champion joins Pac in the ring, but Pac is simply transfixed on Kenny Omega's title. Omega tells Pac that a decision has been made, and at Full House it will be Pac v Omega for the AEW Men's World Championship. Kenny will then offer his hand to the challenger, who will refuse. Pac will take the microphone from Kenny Omega's hands and tell him that this whole company was built around Kenny and his elite buddies, and everything is set up for him to have a long, successful reign as champion. One thing stands in his way, and at Full House, Pac is going to bring their house down to ruins and take the title that Kenny was handpicked to hold. Pac then leaves the ring, Kenny Omega taken aback by the strong words from Pac. That's our main event. Potentially our main event, actually. It may not be yet, but that is our AEW Men's World Championship match for Full House. Going back to the second hour of the show, the commentators talk about the confirmation of Pac's match with Kenny Omega, as well as everything else that happened during the first hour of Tuesday Night Dynamite. As they speak, Chris Jericho storms the commentary table. He's in a foul mood as usual. He further puts over his egomaniac personality by telling Excalibur exactly how he expects to be presented during his Tuesday Night Dynamite debut tonight. He's unhappy with how Excalibur has spoken about him recently, and he expects that to change tonight. He also gives orders to Don Callis, albeit in a less aggressive manner. With Excalibur and Don thinking that that's done, they continue to speak, but the camera's attention is soon dragged away, with Chris Jericho harassing the ring announcer. QT Marshall will then come out from the back trying to reason with Chris Jericho, but Jericho will just berate him as he walks to the back. We then get the third of 4 sit-down interviews. This was with SCU, who are given free reign again to put over their characters. They talk about their advantage of being a 3-man group and the fact that Kaz and Daniels have won tag team titles all around the world. There's only one team in the tournament who can come close to them in terms of accolades, and that's the team they'll take out in the next round, the Young Bucks. Match number 4 of the night, Cody and MJF defeat Sonny Kiss and Sammy Guevara. They're shaping up for their match at Full House against Hangman Page and Marty Scurll in 10 minutes 08. Cody is able to pin Sonny Kiss following the beautiful disaster. Sonny Kiss a weak link in the match with a 41. Guevara and MJF doing not so bad. And Cody with a impressive 62 performance, a 59 C-rated match, so we're happy with that. After the match, Cody and MJF celebrate their victory together, with Cody pointing to his protege, putting over his role in the victory. Marty Scurll then comes out, with Cody telling him to stay out of the match, stay out of the way, stay out of their moment as they celebrate. When the two begin to argue, Marty on the outside of the ring and Cody in it, Joey Janela jumps in from out of nowhere and lays into MJF. Cody manages to get between them, bringing an end to the short scuffle, with the referee also looking to calm Joey Janela down. A fired up Joey Janela is then led away as Cody shouts at him to get the hell out of here. As Cody checks on his injured protege, Marty puts his hands up while laughing at the hurt MJF. Continuing 2 builds here really, Joey Janela and MJF have had a side story, while Marty Scurll and Hangman Page v Cody v MJF is the pay-per-view match. Nonetheless, we want to keep that build going because it has been a fairly long-term build to just dissipate into nothing between Joey and MJF. A video package then plays showing the rivalry between Chris Jericho and Joey Ryan. It highlights the fact that Chris Jericho has got the better of Joey Ryan, who he considers to be a joke and an embarrassment to the pro wrestling business. Jericho v Joey Ryan will take place in the main event tonight. We then get an interview with Joey Ryan, who puts over this match as the biggest non-title match of his career. He adds that while Chris Jericho is entitled to his opinion, anybody who's followed Joey Ryan, especially the boys in the back, know just how seriously he takes the business. He explains that just because he likes to have fun, it doesn't mean he thinks professional wrestling is a joke. Speaking in a serious tone, Joey talks about the sacrifices that he has made and the disrespect that has been shown by Chris Jericho. The interview closes with him making it clear that he represents the entire roster tonight because Chris Jericho has put every single one of them down over the last 6 months. He's going to prove to everybody, especially Chris Jericho, that he belongs in AEW. 5th match of the night, Mizuki's chance to be added to the AEW Women's World Championship match at Full House. She falls short as Tessa Blanchard defeats her with a hammerlock DDT in 9 minutes and 32. A 39 for Mizuki, who was off a game tonight, while Tessa Blanchard got a 40. That's 2 okay performances, something we can definitely build on. A D41 isn't a disaster. And with a singles match set up for Full House, we've got Tessa Blanchard knocking on the door as a potential future challenger. After the match, she stands tall in the ring, celebrating as the commentators confirm that at Full House, Madison Eagles will be the sole challenger to Britt Baker's AEW Women's World Championship. Making her way up the ramp, Tessa Blanchard is then interviewed by Alex Marvez, and she states that she's put herself at the front of the line to be the next challenger to the title. She's prepared to face Madison Eagles, Britt Baker, or anybody else for the chance to prove that she deserves a shot. As she continues, Tessa is cut off by Ivelisse Velez, who has had issues with her for several weeks. The two once again begin to argue with each other, eventually resulting in Ivelisse Velez slapping Tessa Blanchard across the face. As Velez walks away, the fired up Tessa Blanchard follows her, Alex sending over to the final interview of the night, but he's sure that something's going to go down between Velez and Blanchard. We then get the Lucha Bros talking, they speak in Spanish, about their chances of becoming the AEW World Tag Team Champions at Full House. They will face the Best Friends next week on Tuesday Night Dynamite. They discuss the first AEW show, Double or Nothing, and point out that at that event, they lost to the Young Bucks in a match to prove the best tag team in the world. But there was no titles on the line, unlike at Full House, and the Lucha Bros are the best tag team in the world, and they'll prove that by beating the Best Friends next week, and then the winner of SCU v the Young Bucks at Full House. Prior to the main event, the commentators then put over next week's show, which will feature those two semi-finals in the AEW World Tag Team Championship Tournament, the winners facing off at Full House. It's also confirmed that after the incident earlier in the night, Joey Janela will go one-on-one with MJF, a match that will look to end their bitter rivalry that has been going on since January. But before then, it's time for the main event. A 67 rating and a 78 for Chris Jericho. He clearly carries the match. They have good chemistry though, which again made it an even better match than it would have been. There are no skill improvements, so that's a shame because we would have hoped Joey would have been able to get something from Chris Jericho, but perhaps he's already at the top of his potential. Nonetheless, in 9 minutes 1, Chris Jericho defeats Joey Ryan with a code breaker. The story of the match is that Joey Janela shows a hell of a lot of heart, but Chris Jericho is simply on another level to him. It's a decisive, perhaps verging on dominant victory for Chris Jericho, and while Joey does get a bit of offense in and a bit of a comeback, it's quickly stamped out, and Chris Jericho wins with that codebreaker move. Following the match, Chris Jericho stands tall, he shoves the referee away and runs him off as he tries to check on Joey Ryan. Chris Jericho places his boot on the chest of the man who he has defeated. The commentator's putting over the fight of Joey Ryan, but noting that the GOAT just had too much for Joey. Don Callis puts over that Chris Jericho proved that there are levels to pro wrestling, and Jericho is at the very top echelon of that. Despite his victory, there was no joy in the face of Chris Jericho. Tuesday Night Dynamite ended with a stoic look on the face of the man who felt he had to prove something tonight, but hasn't gained anything from defeating Joey Ryan. So a 69 C+ rating, comfortably fulfilling broadcaster requirements and increasing our popularity in 30 regions. Chris Jericho obviously the star of the show, dragging Joey Ryan to a 67 C+ main event match. But moving forward, the focus is on the build to Full House. There's just 2 weeks left. Next week we'll see the semi-finals of the AEW World Tag Team Championship Tournament, as well as a one-on-one match between MJF and Joey Janela. Of course, MJF has other things to be focusing on the build to Full House. The issues within the Elite will have to be put to the side, however, as Kenny Omega faces another tough challenge, Omega Pack 2 at Full House.